You know, episodes that open and keep your expectations in check are ones that do really well with me. I'm excited to say that this week's episode of Star Trek Picard has done just that. Jumping straight into a new type of plot thread for the season, it would seem. One that ties us back to last week's pressing issue, so a good connection there for a bit of storytelling. Picard Season 2 may have initially seemed like it was dragging a little bit, as last week's episode was rather short and did not advance the plot a massive amount. Seriously, one of the best moments of this episode builds into Tyler, aka the Watcher, diving into Jean-Luc's head in order to save him from his own inner demons and long-lasting trauma. This developed from his childhood and over time it would seem. Spoiler warning, we'll be discussing the latest episodes of Star Trek Picard Season 2 in full detail. As such, you have been warned of spoilers. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get into the latest video review. This episode is titled Monsters, and is written by Jay Maggs and directed by Joe Mendez. The episode gives us a deep look into the mind of Jean-Luc, and what monsters dwell inside, as well as perspective on events while he was a child. It's definitely an interesting episode that has a lot to talk about, and we might be discussing it for a while, looking back on prior episodes with this newfound knowledge. Before we dive into the video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay? Engage. Overall, I feel as if Star Trek Picard Season 2 might be chasing too many plot points. Sure, the mega fans like us can keep up as we're studying every little detail, let's be honest, we all are, but the casual viewer who's not that big of a Star Trek fan might not. Some would view this as a potential issue for the season, while others may not. It really does depend on the way you look at it. As an example, Episode 7 now also gives us a plot point of the police arresting Jean-Luc. This is all while Jurati is on the verge of becoming the BORG Queen, Q is out of them being a menace, Rio showing off and breaking time travel rules, Seven and Raffi are chasing Jurati, and even more. We've also got Adam suing the deal with at some point, along with his daughter as well. You can sort of see the point I'm getting at here. Yes, we've somewhat finished the plot point of Picard's internal trauma and the dealings with his father, which allow for another plot thread. But you would think that now we have 3 episodes left, some of these plot threads would be winding down in a sense. There is nothing wrong with a complex plot, and I think Star Trek as a franchise can embrace them better than most. You can sort of just see how it gets confusing from a certain point of view. Now, whether all these plot threads get resolved by the end of the season or not is up for debate, considering that they shot Season 2 and 3 back to back. But considering that recent news from the Next Generation cast are coming back for Season 3 of the show, I expect the majority of these plot threads in the past are resolved by the end of the season. This week's big reveal was that of actor James Callis, well known for his role of Gaius Baltar in the reimagined series of Battlestar Galactica, would make an appearance in Star Trek Picard Season 2. You'd know about that as I haven't shut up about it for about 2 weeks, so let's be honest, it's pretty cool. Speaking of which, Trek Central originally reported this news breaking in February earlier this year, which we're super glad to confirm is correct. At first glance, Callis is playing a Starfleet officer who is a commander, it would seem. His uniform and outfit first look like that of First Contact style uniforms, but they're slightly different, mostly in the shoulder section. Initially, the opening of the episode offers no explanation for who Callis actually is, no name or idea of what he's actually doing talking to Picard. As the camera pans in, we're clearly on some sort of starship orbiting a star. A star that does look like our own and perhaps is implied to be our own as well. Callis is such an exceptional actor that he pulls off this whole role perfectly. Someone who at first glance appears to be some sort of doctor overseeing Picard's mental state. Speaking of Picard's mental state, we learn that his trauma he's experiencing, and has experienced in many ways, is actually him dealing with his mother in the past, who had her own struggles of mental health. James Callis is actually playing Maurice Picard, father of Jean-Luc Picard and husband of Yvette Picard. We actually learn that Picard's mother was facing significant mental health struggles, and as such, Maurice trying to help her and deal with the situation was interpreted differently by a very young Jean-Luc. I'm still a little bit confused as to why he was appearing as a Jean-Luc dressed as a Starfleet commander, especially considering the views of Maurice Picard not liking technology and not liking that Jean-Luc joined Starfleet. Though we could deconstruct this and see as Picard's subconscious mind depicting this annoying person as some irritating Starfleet officer, because at the beginning he does not recognise this man is his father, possibly because his inner mind has viewed his father so much as a monster. Either that, or it could just have been an excuse to get James Callis into a Starfleet uniform. I mean, let's be honest, some of us have been wanting to see that for years now. Though part of me still wonders if there is much more to this scene overall. Picard even refers to the illusion room they're standing in as his ready room, which confused me, as this isn't any ready room that we've seen Jean-Luc has served in before, or at least owned as a room. I believe there's even a model of the Excelsior class ship on the desk of the room, which is a starship class Picard has not served on. I think either way we have to visually take these scenes with a grain of salt, as they're basically an illusion of Picard's mind. Speaking of this, by the way, Picard mentions this is his ready room. Now, if we look at the modern version of a Stargazer, under Captain Crispin Rios, we've not seen the ready room on board that ship. We've seen the conference room, but not the ready room. Could this be the ready room of the actual USS Stargazer we see in episode 1 of season 2? We know the ship will play a prominent role in the season 3, so maybe this is the ready room. Who knows? The BORG Queen, aka Jurati, is still on the move and is out and about. While we don't actually get much time with her during episode 7, we get information via Seven and Raffi, but we're essentially watching a new BORG Queen emerge. If I was a betting man, I'd say this drops links to the new type of BORG Queen that we meet in episode 1 of season 2. The one who beams aboard the Stargazer as the envoy and tells Jean-Luc to look up. I'm really interested in seeing more of how Alison Pill pulls off the role of the BORG Queen and where the storyline goes. Also, you might have missed it, but there was a detail hidden in plain sight at the time of Jurati entering the bar. The woman singing in the bar, with a band playing music, is actually the American singer Sonny Ozel. Ozel is the wife of Sir Patrick Stewart, and he suggested the cameo in the first place. You can read the details via Trek Central now following Ozel's interview with ET Online. I think one aspect of this episode which I didn't really like was the reveal that Tarlin is actually Romulan, and perhaps is an ancestor of Laris. It does go to explain why she has Romulan style technology with her and uses Romulan swears, but seems like just an excuse to reuse Orla Brady as an actress. I mean, even the earpiece neural device she wears is Romulan ear shaped. It's not a bad thing to reuse the great actress, she is great and I love what we're getting more of her. I just wonder if they really needed such a deception for this long to have it be revealed as nonchalantly as this. Tarna revealing this feels not just like a reward for Tarna and Jean-Luc, but a reward to the viewer as well, for getting this far. I don't know, but it just felt slightly off to me in a sense. I felt like the writers needed to explain this away, and I think it would have been perfectly fine to not actually explain this at all. Trek fans by now should be used to characters being recast and actors playing multiple characters. Jeffrey Combs is a great example of this, but it just feels slightly off. You know, originally I had a theory that James Callis would be playing a Starfleet time agent, essentially that Star Trek's own time police would be turning up in the episode and fixing everything. Well, sadly that did not actually happen in Star Trek Picard, but instead we've got the actual police showing up and arresting Picard and Guinan. There is one detail here that some Star Trek fans might notice, mainly if you've watched Voyager enough times. The actor who plays a police detective in Guinan's bar is called Jay Karnes. He previously played Lieutenant Duquesne of the USS Relativity in Star Trek Voyager. The Relativity was a time ship and one that operated out of the 29th century, dealing with timeline incursions and having a run-in with Seven of Nine and Captain Janeway. Another little detail is that on the federal officer's surname is Wells, probably named after the prolific sci-fi writer H.G. Wells. The USS Relativity was also a Wells-class ship, so either it's a little Easter egg or it could be alluding that this might actually be Lieutenant Duquesne in disguise. But then why would he intentionally arrest Picard? So for the moment we're going to assume this is a federal officer and it's just a cheeky little reference. Additionally, with him now arresting Picard and Guinan due to witnessing Picard's beam-in, it remains to be seen how they figure this one out and get out of the situation. My guess is either Picard will talk him out of a situation, or Tynan will come in and use some magic technology to solve the issue at hand. Though on the flip side, part of me was wishing this police officer is actually Lieutenant Duquesne in disguise, and Starfleet's time police are actually showing up to save the day. That would be fun, but maybe a little bit too much though. Now, Rios this episode was interesting, but what was put on full display was his relationship with Teresa and her son Ricardo. Rios confides in Teresa who they actually are, even saying the same line as Kirk said to Gillian Taylor in The Voyage Home: "I only work in outer space." I think it's fair that Rios told Teresa, and it mentions saving Picard's life without having to go into the hospital, but perhaps it's a bit far for Rios to tell Teresa's kid and take him to the last Reno as well. Though I suppose this might further suggest they come to the future after this problem is resolved. Though I could see Teresa staying behind to help continue her clinic, though if he does take it in the future, well hey. However, an interesting thing we learn about Rios in this episode is his own father wasn't around enough, coupled with an early episode learning that his mother was an academy test instructor, presumably for Starfleet cadets in piloting. This needs for a father figure we can see in season 1, with just how deeply Rios suffered after losing his former captain, who he also probably viewed as a father to him. This would be Captain Alonso Vandermeer. So once again, we're given the delight of visiting Guinan's bar, where not only do we get the police scene I mentioned earlier, but also the pair attempting to deal with Q. Ever since we first saw the introduction between Q and Guinan, there's been an unexplained history there.
We have had some dealings.
Those dealings were 2 centuries ago. This creature is not what she appears to be. She's an imp, and where she goes, trouble always follows.
Q refers to Guinan as an imp, and they have dealings with the 22nd century personally. Now, this episode goes into at least the relationship between the Q continuum and the Elorians, aka Guinan's species. they were previously at war and had negotiated a truce a while ago. So Guyana and Q being hostile towards each other is now a mystery partially solved. But I do have to wonder why Guyana herself has a bottle of Elorians used to broker a truce. Or maybe all Elorians have the same bottle in some aspects. We know that something is off with Q, and him failing to be summoned by Guyana further shows this. Now we might have Guyana and Picard being arrested by the FBI, but it seems like Picard is going to get to know Q a little more. Q has forever been fixated on Jean-Luc, and we originally believe this was due to his fascination with humanity. But what if it's actually more about Picard all along? We still have Q to deal with, the BORG Queen, and Soong, and also the FBI now, so it's quite a lot. So some final thoughts. Overall I thought this episode was really good, and someone managed to deal with its varying plots of style and substance extremely well. Not really taking me out of the moment, whether this might be the case for the general audience viewer shall remain to be seen. Now switching between the Mind Realm, with Little Prince Picard against monsters, to 2024 LA with Adam Picard dying on a bed worked pretty well in terms of cinematography and storytelling. I think the highlight of this episode was the mind sequence as I just mentioned, and just going deep into the character of Jean-Luc Picard and also seeing how a child views such things and interprets them, and whether his interpretations are actually correct or not. They can still affect a child if they were not resolved, and we see that it's affected Jean-Luc for the most of his life, keeping him from letting people too close to him. So what did you think of the latest episode for Star Trek Picard Season 2? You can sort of almost feel that we're in the last couple of episodes of the season as the stakes are running high and getting things set up. Honestly, I'm excited. Be sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below as always, because if you are talking Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack here on Trek Central, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper my friends, goodbye.